mummy's with the maggots now.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Well, hi there.
Hello, and welcome to Would You Die, the show where big things have small beginnings. I'm Austin Torres.
And I'm Anneliese Petersmark.
And today we continue June Origins, affectionately known as...
Jorigins.
I thought you were going to say Origin.
I know.
Oh, no.
It's now funnier if I say Jorigins.
That's fair.
Origin.
Origin. We're talking about Prometheus today.
We are.
And I am excited. People who know me, they know my favorite horror film is technically Jurassic Park, but that's just my favorite movie of all time. So it's like,
right.
I always disqualify
But
Jurassic
your favorite
Park.
non-Jurassic Park horror film
is Alien.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very strongly if we were going to do a prequel month, we got to do Prometheus.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So just a quick synopsis of Prometheus. This is set in the year 2095, so it takes place at the very end of the 21st
We're almost
century.
there.
Yeah, practically. And it focuses on Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway, who are both archaeologists who discover this message that they believe they interpret it as an invitation from humanity's creators, who they call the engineers. And so they board a ship called Prometheus, funded by the Weyland Corporation, and set out to find them. And their goal, kind of different from the Weyland Corporation's goal, is to find them and talk to them about humanity and find their creators. You know, it very much in the way that, you know, we talk about religion. That's kind of the way that Charlie and Elizabeth talk about the engineers.
Yeah. This is a wild fucking movie.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And it is the first time you've seen it?
It is the first time I have seen it, yeah. So in terms of my personal connection with the Alien franchise, I was telling Austin before we recorded, a lot of this episode is going to kind of be Austin doing his film critic, film aficionado thing and explaining to me how Prometheus fits in with the Alien franchise, because I have seen 3 Alien movies. The first one that I saw was Alien, which I watched with Austin on my couch in 2022.
Was that in 2022?
Yes, in like late 2022. And then
Nice.
I saw Alien Romulus in theaters last year with Austin.
A bunch of us there. I got the whole
Yeah.
crew together for that one.
And now I have watched Prometheus this morning. So that's all
Oh,
I've got.
Prometheus is the third one.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So that's what I've got. I've got those 3 in my lore.
I will fix that.
That's, yeah.
That will be fixed over time.
I need to fix that. So tell me, what is your personal, I mean, obviously we know favorite horror movie of all time. What?
Alien is.
Yes, Alien.
Not Prometheus.
No. But how have you kind of gotten involved with like this franchise and et cetera?
Okay.
Et cetera?
So with Alien, it's actually a little similar to my Indiana Jones origin.
Okay.
In which it's tied to Disney, in a sense, because Disney used to have this amazing ride called the Great Movie Ride,
Yes.
which had all the great movies.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this amazing segment with Alien.
You're going to have to remind me. I've ridden the Great Movie Ride, but it has been a long time.
It is a segment where you go into, like, the spaceship.
Right. And like Sigourney Weaver's there, right?
And yeah, and she's like scared and stuff, and you go through and the xenomorph kind of pops up from over top.
Now I remember, yeah.
And there's
crazy.
like all the fog and strobing lights. Yeah, because Disney used to be cool in like in their movies and in their rides. It'll be like, hey, it's all fun and stuff. Here is this random horror sequence.
Yeah.
Like Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
The Night on Bald Mountain segment's fucking scary.
Oh, yeah, it's terrifying.
Dumbo.
Yeah.
The pink elephants on parade.
They just kind of decided in the middle of all of the joy and magic to bring Unite Terrors. And that's beautiful because that's what life's all about. It's about balance.
And you know what? That ride, from how I remember it, had a bunch of different movie genres and represented a bunch of studios.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that's like, we don't have sci-fi, we don't have horror. Let's do Alien. Oh, shit. Let's knock out those genres, people, that don't really align with everything else in this thing.
Yeah.
But that obviously piqued my interest when I was like 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, a little later than that, maybe when I was 10 or 11, maybe, I don't remember. But around that age range, preteen for sure. My mom was like, okay, you're scared of every movie ever. Let's not be. You're a man now. I'm showing you Alien.
Let's not be is so funny.
And she's like, it's time you see Alien. And she shows me Alien, and it's, fucking scary. But I'm fascinated with it, too. I love Alien, and I've loved it since day one. And I'll never forget this. The first time I watched Alien, my mom's showing it to me. We're at my grandma's house. We're watching it. In the facehugger scene, my grandma, and I'm not paying attention because I'm watching a movie. Mm-hmm. My grandma takes a pillow and throws it right at my face. Right when the facehugger hugs.
So funny.
John Hurt's character.
Your grandma's such a G.
Really, real. But I loved Alien for a long time. Which leads us to Prometheus. That comes out in 2012. Mm-hmm. I think June of 2012.
Couldn't tell you. I know it's 2012.
It's summer of 2012 at least. I had just graduated high school.
Gotcha.
So me and my buddies, we go see Prometheus because I knew it was an Alien prequel or spinoff. They were more calling it a spinoff. So when we went and saw it, we're like, yeah, there was really no alien in that.
Yeah.
Dope movie, but no
like
alien.
Easter eggs. I mean, they definitely, and like at the very end, but not really.
Yeah, it's so different. Mm-hmm. But it's still I thought it was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, but I liked it. It's kind of divisive when it came out.
Yeah, yeah.
It has its shooters, it has its haters. I just thought it was fine. Mm-hmm. I watched it again last year in my big Alien rewatch before, because last year was the 45th anniversary of Alien, and Romulus was coming out, so I was all Alien pilled in 2024.
Alien pilled.
I put in Prometheus, and I'm like, this is a fucking banger. I love this movie. Mm-hmm. Past high school, Austin, just thinking it was fine. Fucking dumbass. That Prometheus rules.
Yeah. So, for me, Prometheus, I'm not going to lie, was a little confusing because of the fact that I haven't seen all the Alien movies. So, I tried to, for our historical context segment, really go into kind of like trying to get all of the movies straight and where they fall in the lore. Okay. So I'm going to try to do this, and I need you to tell me if I'm correct. So the first movie chronologically, not the first movie to come out, but the first movie chronologically in the lore is Alien versus Predator, which is like prehistoric, right?
Here's the thing with Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
That is not canon.
I know that the Alien versus Predator movies, the crossover movies, are not necessarily canon.
It's hard to tell.
Gotcha. Okay.
Alien versus Predator takes place in 2004.
Okay.
They have a flashback that's prehistoric, or not prehistoric, maybe prehistoric. It's like an ancient civilization.
There's a Predator movie that's like ancient civilization, though, right? That came out relatively recently, or is that
Prey with the Comanche tribe?
Right. Okay.
That's not ancient.
Not ancient.
But that's what you're thinking of.
Again, I haven't seen any of the Predator movies either.
We will fix that.
Okay.
Whoa, I did not. Okay. I got work to do.
Yeah. So Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem, we're just kind of going to like put to the side.
But I think you're right in saying they came first.
They came first, yeah.
Because
okay.
Alien vs. Predator takes place in 2004.
Right.
Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which is not a good movie, but there is a Pred Alien.
Okay.
And that's fucking cool.
That's crazy. I'm excited to find out more about that.
I think that takes place in 2007, whenever that movie came out.
Right.
2009 maybe, I don't remember. Prometheus takes place in, you said it earlier, 2095.
Yep.
Jinx.
So
you owe me a Coke.
Oh, I don't have any.
Okay. I have mine.
That's good. Okay, so then after that it's Prometheus, which okay, so Prometheus, I want to be very clear. I understood as a movie in isolation, and I enjoyed it as a movie in isolation. But as for like all of the intricacies of how it connects to the Alien franchises, I'm still kind of confused. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But then chronologically it's Alien Covenant.
Yes.
Which I haven't seen. I don't know anything about it, but I know that's next. And that's the one that came out in 2017.
Alien Covenant is a direct sequel. Maybe not quite direct.
But it follows
Prometheus.
It follows Elizabeth Shaw and David, right? At least at the beginning. Okay.
They are involved.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to like Covenant.
That's fair. The only thing that I know about it is that Danny McBride is in it, and I love Danny McBride so much with my whole heart. He's good in it. Which is so funny because I've only ever seen him in comedies, so I don't know how he'd do in comedy horror, which I assume his role is comedic, but like also Alien's pretty dark, so I don't know, but
I would say his role is very much like Idris Elba in this movie.
Okay.
Where he's funny,
but he's got heart.
Right.
Got you.
I also think he's the pilot.
Okay. So like literally Idris Elba's role.
Yeah.
That's
maybe not the I don't think he's the captain, but I don't remember. I have to what their roles are.
Got you. Okay. So that's next. That takes place like directly after Prometheus.
Yeah, Covenant fucking rules.
Nice.
It's a mean movie.
Oh no.
Prometheus is also kind of mean too.
I was gonna say Prometheus is not a sympathetic movie.
Ridley Scott.
Then comes Alien Earth, which I know nothing about except for the fact that it hasn't come out yet and it's a TV series on Hulu.
I was about to say I don't know.
I mean,
when. I haven't seen it. I think it comes out in August.
Yeah, I think so. Then Alien, seen that one, know that one. Sigourney, my girl. Yeah. Then Aliens. Which apparently there's more than one alien. I thought there was more than one alien in the first one, but that's okay.
I think Alien Romulus takes place before Aliens.
I need to look at my list.
I think it does.
Yes, you're right. Alien Romulus takes place next. So that's actually 7th.
It's hard because Alien Romulus is kind of like a spin-off.
Right. It's like a different story.
Right. But Aliens is a direct sequel to Alien.
Right.
And it's funny because Alien Covenant's not quite a direct prequel to Alien, but it ties Prometheus to Alien.
Gotcha. Okay, that's probably what I'm missing then.
Alien Romulus is in its own little bubble, but it's tied to Alien and Aliens and Prometheus.
Yeah.
There's Prometheus stuff in Alien Romulus.
There's definitely Prometheus stuff in Alien
including my favorite thing, musical continuity.
Oh, that is true. There is musical continuity.
The Prometheus theme plays in Romulus.
Yeah.
And you get, not to get into the score shit too early, I just want to praise Romulus for a second. Because it's Benjamin Wallfish, I think, who did Romulus.
I believe so.
He used a Prometheus theme. The composer for Prometheus, I'm forgetting his name.
His name is Mark Straitenfield.
We'll get to him, but fantastic score. Jerry Goldsmith's theme for the original Alien is in Romulus, and music from James Horner's score for Aliens.
Right.
As well as really good original music. for Romulus.
Right.
Anyways, I like when my franchises have musical continuity.
So we actually did forget one. So it's Alien,
Mm-hmm.
and then it is Alien Isolation, which is the video game.
Are we counting the games?
I don't know. I know that there's more than just that one, but I know that that one's like the one that's the most canon, according to everything that I was reading.
Because when it comes to like the games and the comics and stuff, that's where my expertise isn't really there.
The only reason that I knew it was a video game is because Jeremy told me, so.
And I know nothing about it in the context of the franchise.
Have you played it?
I have played it,
I think,
but I played it more for the spooky scares.
Yeah.
which there are a lot of.
There are.
I
One
think.
time, I threw my controller.
Oh shit!
It was not out of anger, but out of sheer self-preservation.
That is very fair. They
good.
should make VR Alien Isolation,
No, they should.
That would be horrifying.
dude. I would have to change my pants.
So, Alien Isolation comes next, I guess, chronologically.
I think before Romulus.
After Alien, before Romulus. Then
Mhm.
after Romulus comes Aliens.
Yeah.
And then after that comes Alien Cubed.
Alien Cubed.
Which is, that
Yeah.
can't be what you call it. But
It-
that's
people
how
call
it's
it Alien
written.
3.
That's how it's written.
It's
written
supposed to be
Alien
cool.
Cubed.
It's early 90s. It's early David Fincher.
Alien raised to the power of 3. Is that how it's written?
Yes,
it's like
that's how
Little
it's written.
Tiny 3, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, Alien Cubed. Anyway,
The 90s were wild.
then comes Alien Resurrection,
Yeah.
which I think is like the most recent. Like, it's not the most recent one. That,
It's the
like,
last
has
one
come
of
out,
the-
but chronologically, because it came out in 1997.
The Alien lore is big. I don't want to say it's messy. I don't want to say it's messy because it's not like the Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw franchise where there are 19 different continuities and you can like take and pick and choose it's more like
Right.
Star Wars, where it's
So-
like you.
There's just, everything is pretty, like, there's not a ton of continuity errors. It's just a lot of shit.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
So it's kind of like if you've only seen Star Wars: The Phantom Menace and the original Star Wars, you're gonna have some questions.
I was gonna say, you're gonna be like, who the fuck is this Anakin child and why do we care?
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like that's where I'm at. But
If Prometheus is The Phantom Menace, Alien is Star Wars.
yeah,
Alien Covenant, I guess, would be Attack of the Clones, and we technically don't have a Revenge of the Sith.
yeah, that's fair.
And Romulus is kind of a Rogue One.
So getting into our June origin, actually, that's a really good metaphor because it is kind of on its own, but is very like important to the central
Yes.
story. You're so right. Oh, that's so good.
And there's a lot of fan service and
Yeah.
bringing back beloved actors from the dead that I really hate.
Yeah, but I like Rogue One.
Oh, I love both movies. I just rewatched Romulus this weekend.
I have a really important thing to say about Alien Romulus, and that is that my mom knows one of the actors in Alien Romulus. And
Yes, I love
you
this.
know this, but other people don't, so I'm going to say it. Unfortunately, I do not know how to pronounce his name. His name is Robert Babrosicki, is how I would assume. But he is a Romanian model and former basketball player who played The Offspring.
And if you don't want to be spoiled for Alien Romulus, don't look any further.
I was going to say, that's it. But my mom knows him because he played, after playing basketball in Romania, he came here for college and played basketball at the college that my mom was a librarian at.
Yeah.
So, kind of crazy, very small world. I remember looking him up after seeing that movie because I was like, I need to know who played that. Enough said. And then I was looking at it and I was like, okay, there's what do you mean he's a Romanian basketball player? And so I had to look further, and then it was and And then I was like, what do you mean he's a Romanian basketball player? Like, I had to look in further, and I saw that he played here in Michigan and at this college. And I was like, so I texted my mom, and I was like, do you know, like, this person? Because it's a pretty small school. It's not like MSU or U of M where it's, like, you know, thousands, like 100,000 people or whatever. It's, you know, so, and she was like, oh, yeah, Rob? And I was like, what do you mean, oh, yeah, Rob?
He also was like, before he went to that university to play basketball, he was like one of these like YouTube sensation, like, because this dude was like 7 foot, just like 3 at the age of like 14.
Oh shit.
So he was kind of making the rounds in terms of like YouTube. Like, if you follow basketball, you may not know his name, but if you saw a picture of him, you'd be like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, he reached the height of 7'2" at age 12. He is now 7'7".
Wow.
Yeah, big dude.
And now he's in like Alien.
Now he's an alien.
It's interesting that there's like a basketball to movie creature pipeline, and by that I mean there's 2 that I know of. Because there's, I don't know how to say it.
Space Jam?
I was thinking of the actor who plays not the new Chewbacca.
Yeah, him too.
Jonas. I've met him.
I was gonna say
He played basketball at Penn State.
Yeah, and I know exactly who you're talking about, but I cannot think of his name. And the only person I can think of is Peter Mayhew, who's not.
Rest in peace.
Other guy who plays him is.
I don't know how to say his name. Joonas, I think. And then there's.
Yeah, Jonas Suatamo or whatever.
I'm not even gonna try.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep butchering people's names.
I just be like, "Sup, dude."
Sup, dude. You're Chewbacca. Right?
Yeah, you're Chewbacca.
Yeah. Okay, so getting into June origins.
Yes.
So because I still don't get it, I looked up a lot of stuff about the origin of the name of the movie, which is Prometheus. Yeah. So I figured I could give you some stuff about that, and then you could kind of fill in some gaps about how we get from Prometheus to Alien. I know obviously you can't get into like everything with Covenant, but because that would just be a retelling of the movie.
And I don't want to spoil Covenant for you.
But connecting some dots would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Prometheus. The Prometheus legend. Prometheus is a Titan in Greek mythology, which if you don't know what that is, they are kind of the precursors to the gods. Like, they are even before the gods. And he is a Titan who brought fire to humanity. And he was not supposed to do this. Fire was something that was exclusive to the gods. And he went over the gods' heads and brought fire to humanity. So as punishment, Zeus tied him to a rock and made an eagle eat out his liver every single day. It would grow back overnight, and then the eagle would come in and rip the liver out and eat it. So we're talking about a dude who has part of his body ripped out as punishment for human advancement. Get it?
That is metal as fuck.
Not only is it metal as fuck, it's like a direct parallel to like what the thesis of the Alien movies are. Like anytime these humans try to get too cocky and try to get into this human advancement, their torsos get ripped out. That's all I'm saying, you know? The other thing I wanted to point out is that Prometheus kind of has an interesting connection to Macabre. It's used a lot as he is used a lot as a symbol in Gothic horror for humans striving for scientific knowledge. Yeah. Probably the most famous example of this is literally Frankenstein's subtitle. Like, its official subtitle in the original publication is The Modern Prometheus.
Yeah.
So this idea that this ship, which is the driving force for this movie that is supposed to be the origin of the Alien franchise, which is all about kind of humanity's downfall in this scientific advancement, and do we go too far, and do we not go far enough, and are we losing our humanity in this technology, is this giant symbol in Gothic horror and throughout history of this idea of scientific knowledge being good versus bad, and do we take it too far, and that kind of stuff. And I thought that was so clever, that they really, first of all, used such a direct parallel with his liver literally being taken out. Like, that is so direct.
Right.
But also the fact that culturally he has been used as this symbol for humanity striving for scientific knowledge.
And to kind of bring it to Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus, there is a whole just thematic, what's the word I'm looking for? Element, maybe, of creation.
Yeah.
Specifically creating life.
Yes.
The engineers, spoiler alert for Prometheus, because we're about to get into it, the engineers supposedly created humanity. Humanity created the androids, like David.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's a spoiler. They kind of tell you right away David played brilliantly by Michael Fassbender.
They also tell you
Is an
right
android.
away that, they tell you that he's an android. They tell you right away that the engineers created humanity. Like, that's one of the first things that they say.
They say it. I don't know if the film, I don't know if it's that cut and dry, though, if that makes sense.
I think
Because the characters that are saying it, but they also don't know what they're dealing with. I think the movie is a bit more nuanced.
that's fair, but I think that plays into belief versus disbelief. Like, that plays into
And
faith.
big, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
There are some people who from the very beginning are like, these are our creators. And they talk about them the way that we talk about God.
Right.
And then there are other creators who are like, okay, like, that's not true. Like,
Right.
So, yeah.
And there's the cyclical nature of it. The engineers created humanity. Humanity creates androids like David.
Yeah.
That plot thread might continue. Just saying.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So pay attention to the creation when it comes to connecting this eventually to Alien.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see this through to, obviously, Alien Covenant is
Right.
the big one we're talking about. That Alien Covenant leads us to Alien, which Alien is, I don't know, Alien is very anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's as much of, like, diving into the creation of stuff as it is the fear of reproduction.
Yeah. And I think Alien Romulus does a really good job of
But
kind of tying the two together.
I was going to say Alien Romulus kind of brings us back to this, I'll just call it the Prometheus thread. I think Prometheus puts in this line of creation that you don't really see in the other Alien films. Because Alien is very much, the company wants to study the xenomorph. Crew is expendable.
Yeah.
Aliens follows that thread. As well as Alien 3, which has a very interesting prison setting.
Yeah.
And then Alien Resurrection, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah. I find a conversation that Shaw and Holloway have really interesting, kind of to do with this thread, where they're sitting there and talking, and Shaw is really talking very reverently about the engineers. And Holloway basically says, well, if anything, this just proves that creating life, he doesn't say it isn't special, but he says something like,
anyone with half a brain
can
can do it.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, I know it,
Yeah.
obviously he's talking about, like, procreation, right? But, like, really, I mean, that's kind of it. This movie touches, and I'm not sure because I haven't seen it, but I would assume that Covenant kind of goes deeper into this with the fact that David survived. They touch on the subject of, like, okay, what does it mean to be human? What is humanity? What is creation of humanity specifically? Because when they're talking to David, they're very dismissive of him. And they're like, you can't feel. You don't have emotion. You don't have feelings. And when
especially Holloway.
Yeah. And when Holloway says, what does he say? Something about David, they're talking about what questions they're going to ask the engineer. And David says something about like, well, don't you want to know like why they created you? And Holloway is like, well, I assume they created, like, why did we create you? It's because we could.
I think it's a little, if I remember correctly, it's after the one they saw that they were dead. Mm-hmm. And Holloway is all mopey and stuff. And David's asking Holloway, what would you have asked them? Why they create it? Blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, why do you think your people created me? And that's when he goes...
He says, because we could. And then David says, well, how do you think that would make you feel to hear that from your creator?
Imagine how disappointing it would be to hear.
Imagine how disappointed. And he goes, like, he says something
he scoffs at it.
Well, it's a good thing you can't be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like the implication is that, like, David probably feels and or at least understands feelings more than is let on in this particular movie. And so I find that this question of, like, especially, I mean, like, you know, this movie was created in 2012, which, like, in the grand scheme of things is not that long ago. But when you think about the advancements that we've made in technology for the good and the bad,
especially in AI,
that's what I was just going to say. It feels very, very topical and very relevant of, like, especially, I don't remember, Jeremy was telling me about this study that somebody did, and I'm sure he could tell you more in detail what the heck I'm talking about because I just heard it third hand from him. But basically, like, is it okay to be rude to AI? And, like, the first thing you're thinking is, like, yeah, it's not real.
Right.
Like, is it okay to be rude to, like, Siri or Alexa or whatever? And people are finding that two things, it's causing two threads of things to happen. Number one, your kids and young people are hearing you be rude to a humanoid voice and normalizing it. And two, it's also creating connections in your own brain where you're hearing a humanoid voice and being dismissive and rude to it, and it makes it seem more normal to do to other humans. And so, like, I'm not trying to make the argument that, like, AI is a person, because it's not. But
our monkey brains,
yeah, like, I
do
think, like, psychologically, like, it's fucking us up, man. You know what I mean? Like,
kind of a tangent. I read somewhere that, and I don't know if this is bullshit or not, because I don't know and I don't care to know about AI, but apparently if you're, like, nice to ChatGPT, it costs them more.
Really? That's crazy.
I don't remember the reasoning why, and it's something I saw on, like, Facebook or something, so I don't know if it's bullshit or not. Mm-hmm. But that's just another reason to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I also, something that I find very interesting is, and I don't know if this was purposeful or not, but Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Who plays Meredith Vickers. She is kind of raised in isolation. Before the trip, it's kind of implied she's, like, raised in isolation in this little, like, pod, and, like, David's her assistant. You know what I mean? Like, he's there, he's her kind of android, and he is, I don't think exclusively this, but he fixes her a drink right away. Like, she gives him orders, and she's very dismissive of him. And it shows in her personality when she talks to other people.
Yeah.
You're suspicious of her. She is very, like, needs to be in control. She has an agenda. And, like, a lot of her reactions to people are very cold. And so I do find that interesting, that she spends most of her time talking to this android who everybody, it seems, to perceive as not having feelings.
Right.
Like, that extends to other people as she talks to them. She doesn't know how to talk to humans.
Right. And I think some of it has to do with her background of being the daughter of Peter Whalen, who is the head of Whalen-Yutani. Mm-hmm. And the film implies that he, being like a trillionaire, doesn't give a shit about her.
Yeah.
He likes the android he built more than his own daughter. So she has that resentment towards David.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel that right away, but you don't really know why. And there's all, like, everyone in these movies hates androids. Some, like, and that's something that's explored throughout the whole series, from the very first Alien through to Romulus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of that. Not part. That is why she's cold towards David. I think she's cold towards others because, like, she's the daughter of a trillionaire.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely it. But I do find it interesting that, like, you can kind of see exactly what we were talking about, where there's this desensitization to. So
you don't know how to
people.
Talk to normal people.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like,
Idris Elba calls her a robot.
Yeah.
Are you a robot?
I just, like, this movie was very interesting to watch, like, kind of in isolation. Like I said, not really focusing on it as a prequel.
I think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Just thematically.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this idea of creation being the center of it is really interesting.
It started a trend within the Alien films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of having this kind of, like, not religious or mythological, but, like, there's Prometheus, then there's Alien Covenant,
Yeah.
and then there's Alien Romulus.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, what's the word I'm looking? Cultural word, like Prometheus being mythological, Romulus being mythological,
Yeah.
Covenant being religious.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Absolutely.
Or maybe Alien Resurrection started it.
Yeah, maybe. I
But
don't know.
I think Alien Resurrection is meant to be more literal.
Well, and I do think, like, it's really interesting how all of the, like, those titles, like Resurrection, Romulus, less so Covenant, because that's more of, like, well, no, because here's the thing. Romulus, Covenant, Resurrection, and Prometheus are all titles that have to do with, like, a creation myth.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, Resurrection is pretty obvious. Like, that's, I mean, like, if we are going biblical, Jesus.
Right.
Covenant, one of the main covenants in, like, Christian mythology is the covenant that God had after the Great Flood, when he recreated Earth, and he made a covenant to never flood the Earth again. Romulus is the brother of Remus and the founder of Rome in legend. And then obviously Prometheus we already talked about, like, this Titan who is around even before the gods, and not only that, but gives humanity, he doesn't create humanity, but he gives humanity fire, which helps with food and heat and all of these different like things. So yeah, I didn't think about that until you said that, but yeah, absolutely.
So Alien Earth is kind of throwing that out of loop, but it's also a different medium.
I was gonna say, we'll see.
So we're cool. It's cool. It's fine. It's a completely different medium. But there's a lot we can dive into thematically with Prometheus.
Yeah, I am really, like I said, I didn't get to really focus on it as an origin story as much, because it wasn't until the end that I was, like, understanding, like, some of the connections, really. But I do think it's interesting. So I guess I have a couple questions about
let's get into the questions of I think that'd be the best way to go about it, is you asking me why. Or how Alien.
So at the end of the movie, because a lot of the stuff that, like, happens that connects it to Alien happens at the very end. But basically, one of the things that happens is the alien man, the engineer, he gets into the spaceship, and it's like he's like a space jockey. Yeah. And I don't, that's kind of, is that supposed to be a plot twist, or are we supposed to know that beforehand? Because that's something I wasn't really expecting, I guess.
I think it's kind of supposed to, like, a plot twist for the fans, I think.
Okay.
Fans will start to see it in the initial egg room where where they see the bodies of the engineers, and like they have a decapitated head.
Yeah.
Because shit went down 2,000 years prior.
Right.
They take the head, and you can see it's like.
And do we know
the
what
space
went
jockey,
down 2,000 years prior?
Something went wrong on their ship, and the weapon got released.
Okay.
That's basically
all we know. Okay.
Yeah. Because what I really like about Prometheus is you could tell they built an even larger world, but they only give us so much just to kind of keep that mystery there. They don't want to give us everything because, like, where's the fun in that? It allows the audience to kind of play.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to, like, say things that happen, and I need you to tell me if I have it right.
Yeah.
So we have this, like, black liquid stuff that's oozing. Is that from the engineer? Is that from the engineer's head? Where is that from?
So the black liquid stuff, not to be confused with venom.
Right.
That's a weapon.
Okay.
The engineer, when his head blows up, because it was like all on him, he was infected with it.
Okay. So he's infected with it. They get the ooze, the venom stuff. David like poisons Holloway, basically, with it. And then he has sex with Shaw, and then she is pregnant with the alien fetus. How does that happen?
With to be specific, with we're gonna call him Patrick.
Okay.
Star.
I get it.
For listeners who have not seen Prometheus, there is like a starfish, a horrifying carnivorous starfish-like creature.
Yeah.
Squid-like creature. Creature. That I don't really know the name of because I ain't reading. I ain't going into the lore.
Right.
And the movie doesn't give it a name. But anyways, my understanding of it is the black ooze.
So the black ooze is like a bioweapon.
It's a bioweapon. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, I want to say it in a way that doesn't spoil Covenant.
Okay.
So I'm gonna bring up Alien Romulus.
Sure.
Remember when spoilers for Alien Romulus, in case listeners didn't sign up to be spoiled on that movie.
That's fair.
Prometheus, sure.
I love that you are like because I know that you don't want to spoil Covenant for the sake of Anneliese.
Yeah.
But I love the sequence of your sentence, which was, I don't want to spoil Covenant, so I'm gonna bring up Romulus. Spoilers for Romulus.
That's fair. Anyway, so spoilers for Romulus. Remember when?
Yeah. So, and in fairness, this is a movie that's only a year old.
Yeah.
So I don't know if everyone's seen Romulus. I mean,
right.
I could spoil Covenant if you had seen it, and that's a 6-7-year-old 8-year-old movie. Came out in 2017. Mm-hmm. So it's like people had a chance. Like Alien Romulus is relatively fresh.
Yeah, I still have a lot of.
They have the Prometheus juice in Romulus, and they infect Isabella Merced, who you know in The Last of Us and Dora the Explorer and the upcoming Superman. What a run this girl's on.
Yeah.
Anyways, she gets infected with the Prometheus juice.
Right.
And then...
Can I be honest? I totally forgot that was her.
Right?
Anyway.
Range.
Love her.
Yeah,
Range.
She's fantastic.
Was she the one that was...
She gets infected with the Prometheus juice and then gives birth to Jeff Bezos.
Right, she was the pregnant one.
Yeah.
Man, rough couple of pregnancies for Isabella Merced.
Yeah, she's had some times.
Oh,
spoilers for The Last of Us if you haven't played.
I didn't watch the live action Dora.
Spoiler alert for live action Dora where they impregnate a child. Yeah, let's not.
And spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2 if you haven't played that 4-year-old game. 5-year-old game. That game came out in 2020.
Yikes.
Anyway.
So, remember how the Offspring, bringing it back to our boy Rob, what's his name? Yeah, Robbie?
Yeah, Robert.
Okay.
Rob.
There's a reason he kind of looks like an engineer.
Yeah.
Because he's got human
Yes.
DNA, engineered DNA.
Absolutely. And that makes sense where he came from.
When you see the proto-alien at the end,
Okay. Yeah.
like, I don't understand the biology exactly because, one, I'm not a biologist. Two, I'm not, like, scouring the internet for the pseudoscience of alien biology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my understanding is the black goo is a form of life that is both creative and destructive.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But so I guess my question is this. Like, Shaw gives birth to the scary starfish man.
Yes.
And then he gets real big.
Mm-hmm.
And then he zoop inside the engineer.
Yeah.
And then out of the chest pops alien creature that looks a lot like...
Kind of like a proto-xenomorph.
Looks a lot like a proto-xenomorph.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I guess I'm just having such a hard time keeping track of, like, all of the different aliens because, like, they're all related, it seems.
Yes, you're on the right track.
But I don't understand, I guess, like, how.
Remember Space Cobra?
Yes.
That is the same family as starfish.
Right.
I think.
But then there's face huggers.
So
and then out of face huggers come chest bursters.
Right.
And
So
then,
face huggers, chest bursters, those are all xenomorphs.
Right. And the face huggers are like
You could argue
the boy xenomorph. I'm so like I'm not trying to like prescribe human gender to these things, but like they're the ones who do the impregnating. Like they face hug, they like put their ovipositor in there, they lay their eggs, and then out pops the chest burster. And the chest burster grows up to be the big scary alien, right? So then where do more face huggers come from?
So and most importantly, how does the dancing alien from the end of the movie Spaceballs fit into all of it?
Like a glove.
Well, he's just a gay chest burster.
Oh, okay.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Roll credits.
Okay, so...
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey.
So where do more face huggers come from?
So...
Because there's also
This
eggs.
was also a huge question of mine when watching Romulus, which for my background was like the second alien movie I'd seen and the first in multiple decades.
So you have not seen Aliens.
No. I feel like
there is an alien queen.
Okay, I did know that. So the alien queen, is she the one who lays the face hugger eggs?
Yes.
Okay. So then the face huggers equal chest bursters. Great.
Yes.
Awesome. Then there's all these other aliens that are like cousins of the xenomorph. Is that what we're...
Alien Covenant will answer some of these questions. Let's just say someone figured out the natural process of this goo and started to refine it.
Okay. Because Alien Romulus kind of shows us like the cocoon in between stage and how we get from chest burster to xenomorph.
Right. Which was the first time we've seen a cocoon like that.
Right. But then there is all of the different types. Like, for example, what I'm learning right now for the first time is called a deacon.
That is the
which
Prometheus
is the one
one
from Prometheus.
I don't know why it's called that, to be perfectly honest.
Couldn't tell ya.
I don't know the name of the star guy.
But it's a trilobite.
Isn't that like a real thing?
A trilobite is a real thing, which comes from like the arthropods, which will kind of look like it.
Oh,
but
it's just called a trilobite too.
Yeah, a trilobite.
I was like, I thought those were real. What do you mean?
So a trilobite and an engineer make a deacon.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I'm understanding a little bit more now. It's just kind of like, it is just like biology. Like, I was thinking that, because I'm looking at the Wikipedia, which, you know, is a super reliable source, but might be good for this.
People who watch these movies more intense than us.
That's true.
God bless them.
Thank you. But I was kind of thinking it was the same no matter what you impregnate, which is silly. But like, you know, like face hugger impregnates
you get into
a human and you get a xenomorph, or you get a chest burster and that's a xenomorph. And I was just like, whatever you impregnate, that's it. But like, you have to take the host's biology into account. Okay, I'm understanding.
In
I'm sorry.
Alien 3, we get a dog alien.
Fucking awesome.
In Alien vs. Predator 2, Requiem, we get a pred alien.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. That's fucking awesome.
Alien Covenant has a bunch of different variations. Alien Romulus has the offspring, which is a little bit of engineer, a little bit of human, a little bit of xenomorph. Mm-hmm. Alien Resurrection has I forget what it's called, but it's a human xenomorph hybrid. Aliens has the Queen.
Okay.
The problem with all of where this gets messy is Ridley Scott does the original Alien.
Yes.
James Cameron does Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Aliens is Alien is a massive success. Aliens is insanely successful. Sigourney Weaver was nominated for an Oscar for Aliens.
Okay.
Like, it's a blockbuster of a horror movie. And because it's a bit more action-packed, I think it's it's generally the fan favorite. Mm-hmm. Mine is Alien because it's, to me, more horror-based. It's scarier. But Aliens is it's like the Terminator 2 to Terminator. Mm-hmm. James Cameron knows how to make a great sequel.
Right.
But that sends the Alien direction one way. Then David Fincher goes and does Alien 3, which is a completely dark and grimy movie. And Aliens ends with a little bit of hope. Alien 3 says, fuck that. And does really, like, at the time, controversial stuff.
Right.
Then Alien Resurrection is like, I believe the screenplay was written by Joss Whedon. Mm-hmm. Like, near the, probably while he was doing early Buffy.
Yeah, it would have been.
And it's directed by the director of Amelie.
That's fucking crazy.
Alien Resurrection is crazy. Ron Perlman is in it. Winona Ryder's in it. Sigourney is in it. Mm-hmm. Brad Dourif is in it. But a lot of people are in it.
Yeah.
That kind of killed the franchise for a bit. Then in the 2000s we have Alien vs. Predator and the sequel.
I just need everybody to know. Joss Whedon was writing simultaneously the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film, Alien Resurrection, and Atlantis the Lost Empire.
I didn't know he was a part of that.
Yeah, he wrote it.
Now we're at Prometheus. Ridley Scott gets control of the franchise back.
Okay.
At this point, Alien has been something where everyone contributed something to the lore. Mm-hmm. Ridley Scott is like, fuck that. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to bring it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection. I don't give a shit about any of that. And fuck the Alien vs. Predator movies. He does not give a shit. I think in Ridley Scott's mind, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and Alien, and now Alien Romulus are the only ones you need. Because he was directly involved with Alien Romulus, and he really enjoys Alien Romulus. Mm-hmm. And it's... I enjoy Alien Romulus. I have some issues with it. I just think it's cool that both Ridley Scott and James Cameron, who are like two of the bigger egos in Hollywood, saying that nicely.
Yeah.
They both really really helped Fede Alvarez with Romulus, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that one does a good job of bringing in the Scott aspects with the Cameron aspects.
I mean, even we were talking about this, like, thematically. It really hits both beats of, like, the anti-capitalist, like,
right.
stuff along with, like, the creation
And
aspect of
Aliens
it.
brings a familial... There's a mother...
Yeah.
Like, Aliens is about motherhood.
Which is crazy, because this whole shit is crazy. Is fucking... Oh, my
But Alien Romulus has a sibling.
I can't believe you made me do 2 pregnancy movies in 1 fucking month.
Oh, we didn't even get to the best part of the movie yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there. What I what I want to say about I've been rambling, so I want to tie it all together, bring it all home.
Mm-hmm.
When Ridley Scott does Prometheus, he wants to just take Alien in a completely different direction.
Yeah.
And he does.
Mm-hmm.
And Prometheus gets mixed reactions, especially from the fans.
Yeah.
So even though I think it's a very good movie, I do understand where someone's like, oh, a new Alien movie. What the fuck was that?
That's fair.
So Alien Covenant was kind of a course correction, but Alien Covenant lost a little bit of money.
Really? Okay. So,
If I remember correctly, I don't think it made its money back. It made a decent amount of money, but not as much as they put into it.
okay.
So that killed the Alien franchise for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Disney buys 20th Century Fox. Disney launches Disney Plus. It needs a bunch of shit for Disney Plus and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent all this money on 20th Century Fox. They're like, well, we don't just want the X-Men for our Marvel movies. We paid over $1 billion for this. We are going to get our money's worth. So new alien projects are coming out. New Predator projects are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
An Omen movie. Planet of the Apes is back.
Yep.
So Disney's like, what are our big 20th Century Fox franchises? How do we keep them going?
Mm-hmm. And the answer is Michael Fassbender, apparently.
Well, this was pre-Disney.
I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you.
The answer is bringing dead actors back to life.
Apparently.
But, like, the new Planet of the Apes was really good. Alien Romulus was a big hit.
It was very good. I don't know about Planet of the Apes.
I think it made money.
I've been told I need to watch all of those movies.
Prey was a big hit on Hulu.
Yeah, I really want to see that. I feel like we talked about this when we did the first Omen.
Yeah.
Where I said I get really overwhelmed by like horror franchises because I started horror so late. You know what I mean? Like I started horror in my adulthood, and so like especially like the Alien franchise has like 11 fucking movies, and then the Predator franchise also has 11 fucking movies.
Well, the Predator franchise was smaller
until recently.
Yeah. Literally. It was 2 for the longest time.
I know, but I missed it. I missed when it was 2 until 2010.
And then I'm kind of like not including Alien versus Predator. I guess there are a lot of Predator movies actually.
There's a literal
because there's Predator, Predator 2, Alien versus Predator, Alien versus Predator Requiem, Predators,
The Predator,
Prey, Predator Killer of Killers, which just came out and it fucking rules.
And then Predator Badlands,
which is coming out
later.
That is 3 Predator projects in 3 years.
Yeah.
The people love Predator. And Alien, because there's going to be an Alien Romulus too. Alien Earth is coming out. Alien Romulus made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And was nominated for multiple Oscars. Or was it just one? It might have just been one. No, Nosferatu was nominated for multiple Oscars.
Yeah.
Alien Romulus only was nominated. But still, it was nominated.
Yeah, it was still nominated.
Not a given. That,
Yeah, and they have a video game too. Why do all these fucking things have video games?
Yeah, everything has a video game.
I know.
And Funko Pops.
That's true.
But yeah, all that to say, don't be mad if the lore is a little confusing.
I'm not mad.
Because-
I'm just like, if I'm like, I just want to make sure I'm not messing up.
No, I
by
don't
not
think you.
knowing things.
I don't think you are. Prometheus is a very, like, a lot of people felt this way when even
Yeah.
a lot of the biggest of Alien fans
Yeah.
felt this way.
I can't wait to go through and watch the rest of the movies. So here's, I guess, this is a good prequel question.
Yeah.
How do you recommend, I mean, I know it's like very silly that I've watched a bunch out of order now, but like, how do you recommend I go about tackling, or somebody who hasn't seen it, tackling the Alien movies in like order of release, in chronological order? What do you think?
Honestly, it kind of depends on people's tastes,
Okay.
but Alien and Aliens are the musts.
Okay.
Those are the movies you should see just for culture.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would say Alien and Aliens for sure. If you like those, watch Romulus. If you want to get do more than Prometheus and Covenant,
Yeah.
and if you really like the franchise, watch 3 and Resurrection.
Cool. Then what I will probably do is, now that I've watched Prometheus, I'll probably watch Covenant, rewatch Alien, and watch Aliens, and then see if we can go from there. But at least then I'll have
Right.
know.
And I can always make you watch 3 in Resurrection.
That's true. We can do that together.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be of assistance because we will at some point cover every Alien movie on this podcast.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
But I don't really want to do franchise months. You know what I mean? We'll try it at some point, but for now I want to I like the mix of things.
I like the mix. I think it's fun because it means that everybody gets something. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're hitting everybody in a month. Usually we have something that you'll like.
Hopefully, yeah. But we'll probably try a franchise month at some point.
Yeah.
We'll see. What's next?
So, just really quick, talking about cultural impact of this movie, I did find it really interesting because it kind of brought about the resurgence of the Alien franchise outside of the Alien versus Predator movies, because the last movie that was not an Alien versus Predator movie was from 1997, and
that's
was Alien
Resurrection. Yeah. So even though this movie was kind of controversial, it's very polarizing. A lot of people either really loved it or really didn't like it at all. And so even though this movie came out in 2012 and then it took a while for the next one to come out, the video game came in between there. There was a lot more talk of a lot of people went and rewatched all of the old movies throughout the 2010s, and then when Alien Covenant came out, it was kind of back in the mainstream, and then Romulus, and now we have a whole TV show coming out. So I do think it was a slower roll than probably I think
expected when they made Alien, or when they made Prometheus, but I do think it's really interesting that it really was the first movie in over 13 years.
Yeah, because
15 years.
Alien versus Predator, while I love that movie, it delegitimized the franchise.
That makes
both
sense.
franchises.
Because it's kind of just
right.
It feels very Freddy versus Jason.
It is exactly that. And Alien, I don't want to be elitist, but Alien is a much more prestigious franchise than Friday the 13th.
Well, and it's deeper. You know what I mean? This shit's elevated, man. I mean,
from the very beginning.
Truly.
From the very beginning.
This is kind of
yeah.
I remember bringing up Alien when we had this rant on the Hereditary podcast, where I was horror has always meant shit. And slashers are really fun, and Friday the 13th is really fun, but there's not a ton of deeper meaning to it than it's a fun slasher, and that's beautiful, and I love me a slasher, don't get me wrong.
And I think Nightmare gets a little deeper than Friday.
Yes.
But
But
compared
even
to Alien,
Alien is on another level.
right?
Alien's a movie that feels like a movie.
And Alien is a franchise that's always been an Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are not well critically received movies.
Yeah.
Are
Critically
well
acclaimed.
received. Are audience acclaimed either, to be perfectly honest. But those are still movies that have the backing of 20th Century Fox. They put in the money to bring in Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Alien has always had star-studded maybe not be the right word, but the first Alien has this iconic cast of character actors. Aliens, they paid a lot of money to bring Sigourney Weaver back. Mm-hmm. She's a star now. And Aliens helped make stars like Bill Paxton and Michael Biehn and Lance Henriksen and Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
Alien 3 has a pretty good... Charles Dance, off the top of my head, is in that one. Alien Resurrection, like I said, Winona Ryder at the height of her powers. Ron Perlman's in that movie. Prometheus has a stacked cast, which we
I was
need
gonna
to
say
talk about.
Michael Fassbender, fucking Charlize Theron,
Yep.
Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm. Benedict Wong.
Yep. In like a relatively small role, which is kind of crazy. Like I guess that makes sense for like the time.
But now
like,
when you see it, it's like, holy shit.
it's like, holy shit,
Wong.
that's fucking yeah.
There's more faces you'd recognize.
Yeah.
Noomi Rapace, Rapace. She plays Dr. Shaw. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alien Covenant has Danny McBride.
Guy Pearce. We didn't even mention fucking Guy Pearce.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Also,
sorry.
Patrick Wilson jump scare.
Patrick Wilson jump scare is so funny.
I always forget Patrick Wilson shows up for 30 seconds in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, he does.
And why is Guy Pearce in old man makeup?
I don't know.
For like 5 years, people were like, what is this choice? It pays off in Covenant. Not really, but...
I believe you. I'm just
it does for me.
It pays off for me.
It pays off for me. But Alien Covenant has a really great cast too. And then Alien Romulus, Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Isabel Merced, the desecrated corpse of Ian Holm.
Desecrated corpse of Ian Holm.
I hate that.
I know.
So much.
I really. You know what is crazy though is like.
If it wasn't for that, I'd give that movie 5 stars.
That was in the beginning of the movie, and like I saw that happen, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking hate this movie. And then by the end, I was like, that was a fucking great movie.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like that's how good that movie is though for me, because I was so against that on principle that like, yeah.
I'm going to say this now because we have no plans to cover Alien Romulus anytime soon. So I'm just going to say it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think, for me, I would like Alien Romulus even more if instead of trying to bring Ian Holm back from the dead, they either de-age Lance Henriksen, because, you know, he's still alive and he plays a lot of androids in this franchise.
Yeah.
Or, I would have loved this, you fucking bring back Michael Fassbender. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, like, I don't know how you fit David into having seen Covenant. I don't know how you fit David into Romulus, but it doesn't have to be David.
Yeah.
Because in Romulus, the Ian Holm monstrosity is not playing Ash. Mm-hmm. It's playing Rook. So Lance Henriksen could have played Rook, and you still have your Aliens nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Or you could do, you know, like I said, Michael Fassbender playing a different android. Like, there are alive people, and you still get your nostalgia.
Yeah.
Or this, just hear me out. This is for people who like Fede Alvarez's films. Okay. Jane Levy, who was in Evil Dead 2013 and Don't Breathe. Yeah. She wasn't in Alien Romulus,
but it would have been a cool Easter egg. Yeah.
Well, I think she would have killed it as an evil android.
Oh yeah.
She would have been great in that. And then the Fede Alvarez fans would be like, oh yeah,
Look at that.
that's awesome. It really is the Rogue One of the Alien.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right.
Because it looks fucking gorgeous. And it's so well acted. But you know what else looks fucking gorgeous?
Rogue One?
I was going to say Prometheus.
Oh, well, yeah.
That movie's from 2012.
Dude, the opening sequence is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, shit, this is an alien movie. Because, like, all of the alien movies are gorgeous.
Even
you know
the
what I
bad
mean?
ones.
In very different ways.
Yeah.
Like,
Even the bad ones are really good looking.
yeah.
Like, this is a franchise that...
Enough to
A lot of
trick you
great
into
art.
thinking they're good movies.
Yeah, really, though. And Prometheus is so well directed, I think. I think it looks phenomenal. I still remember seeing it in theaters.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the most gory film,
No. There's some
but
moments, though.
the moments are so visceral and intense. Like in the very beginning, where it has the engineer drinking the Prometheus goo.
Yeah.
And when you first see in the movie, you're like, what the fuck is that? And then he drinks the goo, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then he just, like, starts disintegrating, and you're like, what the fuck is
that?
happening? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, when the leg, like, snaps into itself.
I can't.
Like, did you like that sound effect?
I did.
I should have been fully art. No, I shouldn't have.
Should have done fully. No. Are you ready for our superlatives?
I could talk about this movie so much.
I know.
So much, but yeah.
We're going to talk about it for 20 more minutes as we get onto tangents during our superlatives.
For 2 more hours? Okay. I'm cool with that. No, I gotta edit.
All right, who would you save?
I would save... So, can we do multiple people?
Sure.
Because I don't think we've done multiple people yet.
I don't think so.
I would
I
save...
usually save someone who ends up alive at the end of the movie. So.
I would save Idris Elba and his 2 co-pilots.
Yeah.
Homies. And Benedict Wong, who
Benedict
has like
Wong.
7 lines in the whole movie.
But so cute.
But one of them is... Because, for context, Idris Elba is captain of the Prometheus, and the engineer is trying to get off the planet in his ship to go destroy Earth and kill all of humanity, because he is a vengeful god. And Dr. Shaw, who's abandoned on the planet, calls up to the Prometheus and is like, hey, you have to stop that ship, or else there's going to be no home to go back to. Idris Elba's like, this is not a warship. And she says, I know, but you have to stop it. And he goes, all right. He tells his crew, which is just his 2 co-pilots and Charlize Theron at this moment, because at this point, a lot of people died. He says, I'm giving you guys 40 seconds to get on a lifeboat or to get on your pods, get there. And Charlize Theron's like, fuck this, and she skedaddles.
Mm-hmm.
But then Benedict Wong and the other pilot, they're like, no, we're going to stay. And Benedict Wong says, with all due respect, you're a shit pilot.
Yeah.
And it's like so funny and heartwarming, but and tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 of these men
And
sacrifice
they all just, like,
themselves.
look at each other, and it's like very, like, you know they're gonna die in that moment, and like, dude,
Yeah.
moments like that in movies just get me every time, because you're just like, you just
Yeah.
like, you know, and it's so sad.
And I think Idris Elba's the most likable character in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, we get introduced to him, he's putting up a Christmas tree,
Mm-hmm.
and Charlize Theron's like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, it's Christmas. You gotta have you gotta show the passage of time. We've been asleep for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he thinks about people, you know? He thinks about his crew.
Mm-hmm. And he cares.
And he cares. And he didn't want to do it, but he had to, you know?
Yeah.
So, who would you save?
I would save Holloway.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think he I think he's very flawed. I don't think
Yeah.
he's like, you know, a perfect character, but I do think that like his act of selflessness of like immediately being like, just fucking do it.
Mhm.
Like with the flamethrower
That is a
thing
great moment.
is
though.
like, just do it. And he didn't even think. Like it wasn't
Right.
even like a big goodbye. It was very brutal in that way almost.
And what's really interesting about this scene, because I do agree with this, I like that scene a lot.
Mm-hmm.
For context, Charlize Theron just flamethrowers Holloway because he gets infected. And Shaw is trying to get him back on the ship. And he's like, oh, whatever I'm infected with is going to kill everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So kill me. But, you know, the captain's trying to get him on the ship. Shaw's trying to get him on the ship because like they want to help him. They want to save him. He knows he's gone. He knows he's going to kill everyone.
Yeah.
Charlize Theron comes out with a flamethrower because even though she's kind of the villain of the scene, she's
right.
She's doing what Ripley would have done in the original.
Oh yeah.
And he and her kind of have like this moment where he's like, okay, flamethrower me.
Like, do it.
And she's hesitant to do it. Like,
Yeah.
she comes out all like,
She's like,
mighty.
back up or I'm going to do it. And then
Right.
he's like,
And
do it.
he actually
you
presents
need to do it.
And you could tell she doesn't want to.
No.
I mean, Charlize Theron's a great actress.
Yeah, she's really good. She really shows like the complexity of that character with not a ton of lines. Because that's such a big ensemble.
There's really only Shaw, David, and Holloway
that have a lot of
get arcs.
Yeah. And so it's really cool to see what the rest of the crew the crew of the ship, the cast of the movie, was able to do
with
like,
very little.
Very little. In
like
terms of scenes
the
in
geologist, the actor who plays the geologist, I'm pretty sure is like one of the main bad guys in the Mission Impossible franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The actor who plays the biologist, I've seen him in other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he has a very familiar face to me. What was your favorite scare?
Okay, so I have two.
Okay.
One of them was Milburn's mouth snake.
Widow Buddy.
No, it wasn't good.
He gave him a hug.
It came out of his mouth.
He gave him a hug.
It went into his mouth. It came out of his mouth.
Yo, when it broke his arm,
Ugh.
it was like... And I remember seeing that part in theaters.
Yeah.
As like a high schooler. Or just graduated high school.
Yeah. And so...
That shit was loud on those speakers.
I bet.
You've been to that MJR. That's
they
a loud
crank
theater.
that shit.
And that's why I love it.
Oh.
But yeah.
So then the other scene that was just absolutely my favorite.
Wait. It's my favorite too.
Okay.
So we can talk about it.
Okay. Is the scene where Shaw recognizes that she is pregnant with this thing. And for context, she is infertile.
Right.
Like and that's kind of an interesting, we didn't even touch on this, but like it's kind of an interesting thing as part of that scene where they're talking about like anybody with half a brain can create, and she's like, well, I can't. What does that make me?
Right.
And then she finds out that, hey, maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be, because she realizes
That's one hell of a way to put it.
She realizes that she is pregnant with this fucking foreign object that is like trying to get out.
Right.
And she like gets into this like med pod and basically manually performs a C-section on herself to get this alien, like to extract this alien from her body. And it's
And it's not even a good C-section because she tries. There's a med pod.
Yeah.
And it's state of the art, super top of the line. She tries to do C-section, but it's made for men.
Yeah.
So she has to do extraction foreign body.
Which that was another thing that I didn't quite understand, because it's in Charlize Theron's cabin stuff. So why is it calibrated for him? Is it calibrated for her dad?
I think
Spoiler
that.
alert, sorry.
Guy Pearce in old man makeup.
Yeah.
Out of
that makes more sense, because I was like, I don't get this part, but anyway.
But
yeah, so she just has to
I think it was made for him. Also, they said there were only 12 made.
Yeah.
you know they're not making one for a woman.
No, that's
Not even in 2095.
That's true. It's not far enough into the future yet.
I'm sorry.
So she just has to go like abdominal surgery, foreign object in body.
Yeah.
Extract. And so like it just like numbs her up and goes, and she's just like, please hurry, and it's a machine, so it's not listening. And then it gets it out, and it's this little flat disc. And then while it is like the surgery machine is like stapling her up, it like boom and like opens up, and you see all of its fucking tentacles, and it's like
and blood just splatters everywhere, and like
which can't be hygienic because it just went right back into her body.
Yeah.
And then she has to like
she was not closed up yet.
She has to rip the umbilical cord herself, and then just like I assume the rest of the umbilical cord is just in her body now because she stapled herself up. She got the thing up, and she like left.
This whole time, the little baby, little star baby, he's like thrashing.
He's like thrashing, trying to get to her, and she's like laying like back, trying to stay away from it while it's like stapling up her body. It's fucking crazy.
And the med pod raises like a dentist chair.
Yeah.
Or like when Darth Vader raises in Revenge of the Sith.
So she's like coming closer to it while
gravity is forcing her face into like this.
And I will remind you, if you didn't watch our episode 2 weeks ago, I'm scared of pregnancy.
Yeah. I'm
terrified of the idea of being pregnant and giving birth. This didn't help. Once again, if you wondered. At least I was expecting it with this one, though, because like I knew that there was going to be some kind of birthing. It's an alien movie. It's
in the DNA the franchise.
And so like I can handle it, but holy shit, was that visceral.
Yeah. I think you're good with the rest of the franchise.
That's good.
Because I don't think it gets more intense than that.
So I assume that is your favorite scare, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I do want to shout out the because this is one of my favorite tropes in horror movies. When little star baby turns into big boy monster star, and the engineer comes. I just love a good old fashioned monster fight.
True.
And then they fight.
And Star Baby wins.
Yeah. Honestly, the engineer did not put up much of a fight.
Star Baby wins and really made that engineer his bitch. And I mean so literally.
Oh, yeah. To the point they made a discount xenomorph.
Yeah, he really just impregnated him.
Hell yeah.
I need to stop like gendering. I don't know these people's pronouns. So anyway,
I don't know what
the Tony Todd Award for movie MVP.
There's so many options because this is a great cast, great everything. Visual effects are on point. The cinematography is amazing, but I gotta go with my heart. Special shout out to the Space Cobra. I'm gonna give it to Idris Elba.
Okay.
I love him in this movie.
Yeah, he is great. And like we said, he is another one who just does so much with a character who's really given like not like super little screen time, but like little in that it's a big ensemble cast. And I think that's really cool.
How about you? Who is your Tony Todd Award winner for movie MVP?
I think Michael Fassbender is so good in this movie. I mean, like, I'm a huge Michael Fassbender fan anyway. I love him in the X-Men movies. Like,
oh, yeah.
But I think that he just does such a good job of kind of portraying the complexity of, like, an android who is being dismissed as, like, not being a person. Right. But really has a lot of hints that perhaps that's not the case. And I just think that's really, really good.
And I think he's arguably the main character of, not the protagonist.
But the main character,
character of the movie.
He's definitely the main, like, theme.
Yeah, Ridley Scott's most interested in him.
He's the display of the theme, really.
And we spend, like, a good 5 minutes with him before we meet the crew.
Yeah.
And he's like watching Lawrence of Arabia, and he's on a bicycle while shooting hoops and not missing, and he's learning alien languages because while we were talking earlier about how they don't respect the androids in this film, Everyone gets to sleep for 2 years, and he's isolated for 2 years.
Yes.
And he might be an android, but, like, I think he kind of needed socialization.
Yes.
Can I do a spoiler for Alien Covenant real quick?
Yeah, please. And then I'm going to come back to this. Yes.
Okay. Should we ever cover Alien Covenant?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Fassbender will be my Tony Todd Award winner. That's why.
That's fair.
That's why I didn't pick him for this one.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much about Covenant, though.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about Lawrence of Arabia in this movie really quick.
I love
that
Lawrence
okay?
of Arabia.
So
Yeah, when else are we going to get the chance to talk about Lawrence of
Sure.
Arabia on this podcast?
So David is watching Lawrence of Arabia, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, and he like bleaches his hair to resemble Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
And then later, so while he's watching it, the scene that he's watching specifically is the scene where Peter O'Toole says, "The trick, Mr. Potter, is not minding that it hurts."
Yeah.
And that is a really big central thesis to David's character. Because, like, so later in the film, he says, "There is nothing in the desert and no man needs nothing." David says this.
Yeah.
And
Shaw is like, huh?
what? And then he's like, "Oh, nothing, just something from a film I like." And that's kind of, like, dismissed because he can't like anything. He's an android. But realistically, like, Lawrence is he secretly betrays the British. He's working with the Arab military efforts, and he gives like the Arab tribes like the advantage every chance he can get.
Yeah.
And David's allegiances are very much reflected in that. It's he doesn't really care about like the alien ship. He is more kind of focused on, in my opinion, doing exactly what Shaw is also focused on. It seems like he is very much focused on trying to learn why his creators created him. And why, maybe not to the extent that the engineers seem to hate humanity, but why they hate him. Why they treat him and dismiss him so much. And so I find that Lawrence of Arabia parallel really compelling. Because Lawrence has his own agenda, and so does David, but both of them are very easily dismissed because of the fact that they put on this perfect, polished front, and that nothing hurts and everything is fine. And so, yeah, I find that interesting.
And I think David is one of the most fascinating characters in horror, especially of the franchise. And once you watch Covenant, you'll know even more. Because
I'm really excited now to watch Covenant.
David's not a good dude.
No.
But you could still have sympathy for him, empathy for him, and also realize, like, he kills Peter Whalen by leading him to the engineer.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what he's doing. I don't know if this came through, because Prometheus is there's a lot going on in this movie. We've been talking for an hour and a half, and we barely scratched the surface.
I know, it's crazy.
David is the one who infects Holloway, who then impregnates Shaw, and he tries to get her to be frozen and cryosleep so he can bring this creature back.
Yeah.
Like, he is not a good dude.
No. And, like, it's also...
And he actively says at one point, "Don't we all want to kill our parents?" No.
No, we don't. But also, I do kind of wonder what he said to the engineer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know he said something real because it's like Proto-Indo-American or whatever. Somebody figured that out. But I was kind of intrigued. They don't give you subtitles.
And I like that it's like a mystery.
Yeah.
What do you think he said?
Oh, God, I don't know. Because part of me thinks, like, maybe he just asked what he was told to ask. Maybe he just asked simply, like, how do I live forever? And, like, knowing that the engineer was not going to like that. Because the engineer seems to be upset with humanity for going too far. For reaching beyond their means. Whatever that means to them. Like, and so I part of me thinks that he just knew simply that, like, just asking the question would bring about their own destruction. Right. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think he went, And he whispered in his ear, "Booty, booty, 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 rocking everywhere. Booty, 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 rocking
I
everywhere."
don't think he said that.
I mean, I would be exactly like the engineer and rip that fucking dude's head off.
Probably, but I don't think he said that. Okay.
What's the one TikTok where it's like, "Hey, tell me something that'll piss me off. Boba Fett's better than Mando. That'll do it." You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's what it. No, I to answer your question seriously though, I think David I think he's a mischievous little guy, little bastard, and I think he said something along the lines of like, because he was told to ask like how do we live forever or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of said something like, "Here is your creation, here to mock you in your face," or something like that. Probably a lot more suave because David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's good though. I never thought about that.
But I think like your creation has come to mock you. I think something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or maybe he said, what's the line? There's nothing. All a man needs is nothing, and there's nothing in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he says that, and he's like, "I do not care for Lawrence of Arabia."
All right, man. Is the score better than Jaws?
No.
It's
But it is really good.
It's really good. So it was Mark Streitenfeld, like I mentioned earlier, who is a German composer, and he's done a lot for Ridley Scott. He did A Good Year, he did American Gangster, and Robin Hood. There's some other ones in there that he did. Obviously, he did Prometheus. So he's worked with Ridley Scott a lot before.
And the Prometheus theme that do 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 shows up in a horn solo mostly in this film, and the scene where David finds the map room and finds her, and that theme is playing is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think
Another just like absolutely beautiful part of this. I mean, yeah, this franchise is just pretty.
And the Prometheus theme shows up in Alien Covenant and in Alien Romulus. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the horn solo was recorded backwards.
Oh.
Like the musician played it backwards.
Okay.
And then they reversed it.
Interesting. Why?
To give it like an otherworldly feel. It could be other parts of the score in my brain just like assumed it. I could be wrong about it being the horn solo, but I'm pretty sure I read sometime back in the day that they recorded parts, like the musicians played parts of the score backwards and they reversed it.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. I like that. Fun facts.
Little fun fact.
He also did the remake of Poltergeist, which is not
That's not a movie I've seen.
Ridley Scott, but it is in fact a movie that exists.
It was, yeah. I haven't seen it.
That's so interesting. I'm surprised.
I mean, it was a remake. Like,
I know, but you've seen a lot of fucking movies. Like,
that's
I'm
fair.
just
That
saying.
is fair.
Austin was telling us before we started recording that he watched 16 movies this weekend.
There was a
Not
special
one was the Poltergeist remake.
Okay.
There was a special set of circumstances, so
My point
it's
but you also watch a lot of movies in general.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
fair.
This weekend might have been heavier than normal, but that's not. It's
Yeah.
not like I watched 16 movies for the first time in 3 years. You know.
okay. That's fair.
Anyway. Okay, a fine addition to your collection. Do you own this movie? Would you own this movie? What's your thoughts?
I have it on Blu-ray.
Okay. Do you have the whole Alien franchise?
Yes.
I was gonna say, do you?
No.
do you
No. I don't have Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection
Okay.
or Alien versus Predator Requiem. I'm missing 3. Wow. I have Alien.
Slacking.
I have Alien on DVD and Blu-ray. I have Aliens on Blu-ray and 4K. I have Prometheus on Blu-ray, Alien Covenant on Blu-ray, Alien Romulus on 4K.
Okay.
Aliens is the only one I have multiple of, I think. I have a lot of Alien Funko Pops
That's fair.
And art.
Yeah.
I need to own Alien 3 and Resurrection. I do not.
Good to know.
How about you? Would this be a fine addition to your collection?
I'm gonna say no for now.
Mhm.
I need to watch like at least the Alien franchises that we've talked about. I need to watch Covenant, I think, to decide, and Alien 2 to decide like, or Aliens, sorry.
Yeah.
To decide like how good I think that this movie is actually, because I really enjoyed it, but I think that like I was spending so much time focused on like how does this connect that I didn't really get a chance to enjoy it as much as I would like.
Okay.
So that kind of leads me into the next category, which is my Letterboxd review.
Mm-hmm.
My Letterboxd review is really low, but I want everyone to know that like I knew that it was going to be low because I didn't understand fully the movie. So my Letterboxd is 2.5 stars. And I said, I can't wait to watch this when I understand it, because I know I'm going to like it better once I have the context of the other.
Well, 2.5's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not like, I think this movie is probably worth more than 2.5.
It's not 1 star.
Well,
Like
no.
I've given a movie we've talked about 1 star.
Yes, but I think it probably deserved 1 star. I don't think this one necessarily deserves.
Okay,
2.5.
because you still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you say on Letterboxd?
So 4 stars and a heart.
Beautiful.
Can I read you
Hardcore.
2 reviews?
Please.
So this is a review. This is a review I did from yesterday.
Okay.
Look, I know David is a really bad dude. But how can I hate a guy who loves Lawrence of Arabia?
That's real.
I'd already got 4 likes on that. So this is when I watched it last year, for the first time in like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen this in about 10 years, and I remembered liking it, but thinking it was just fine. I was so dumb. This movie rules. Fantastic cast, amazing horror and gore, and heavy themes that make me think about the burden of purpose and the terror of existence. That's what I love in my movies. Thought-provoking themes and alien monsters.
Uh-huh.
I think 2 reasons why I love this movie now, as opposed to thinking it was just decent 10 years ago, is 1, I'm far more confident in forming my own opinions and knowing my tastes, and 2, Alien Covenant rules so hard it retroactively made Prometheus so much better for me. Very glad I revisited this one.
That's very good.
So,
That's very good.
I've only seen this movie twice in my Letterboxd era,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen it, I want to say 4 or 5 times since
Yeah.
it came out in 2012, including theaters.
Nice. All right, Jeremy, as someone who's definitely seen this movie, what did you think?
So here's the thing about this is it's obviously become a running joke that like I don't watch the movies. Most of the time, I at least see scenes from the movies. However, Anneliese is on summer vacation, and I still have a job to go to. So she has seen this movie today while I lived the real horror story. With that being said, based purely on vibes and this conversation, I would rate this movie 3 stars. And I would say, tired of the pregnancy scares, man.
I love it.
Beautiful. So Jeremy is going to watch next week's movie because I need him to.
Okay.
It's very important. So next week I will make
And he's
him...
watching all of...
Oh yeah.
Oh, shit. I shouldn't have said that. And he's watching all the July movies.
Yes, absolutely. So now he's still officially not on summer break, but in 3 days,
Yep.
we will both be on summer break, and then he will be watching more of the movies. And
By the time
to
you're listening
reveal-
to this episode, he will be on summer break.
Correct. That's true.
So, are there any Supernatural alumni?
Yes, there is one.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Fred Tatasciore, who you probably don't know that name, but you have definitely heard his voice.
Okay.
He is a really, really big voice actor, and he's been in like everything. But the problem is that he's in everything as like bit roles. So he's been in like 100 and some odd episodes of Family Guy, but as like background characters. He has been in a ton of like Teen Titans Go and Invincible.
So
and,
like a working voice actor.
yes, an American
yeah.
Dad. So he is a voice actor, and he has been in both Supernatural and Prometheus. In Prometheus, he did something called ADR, which stands for a thing that I know, and it has to do with voice acting. Hang on. I'm going to look it up. Don't tell me what it is. I should have written it down. Oh, automated dialogue replacement, which is basically when you re-record dialogue by actors. So I knew what it was. I didn't know what it stood for. But so he did that in Prometheus, just kind of, like I said, he's a voice actor. So anytime they couldn't get an actor back in the studio because of scheduling conflicts, he goes in there, he records their lines doing an impression of them.
Yeah.
Movie magic. Beautiful. And then he is also in Supernatural, in a very special episode of Supernatural called Scooby-Natural, which was a crossover episode between Scooby-Doo and Supernatural. Some magic voodoo happens. Supernatural gets animated, put into the world of Scooby-Doo. And Fred Testory is in it as Colonel Sanders and Phantasm, who is a very iconic Scooby-Doo villain.
Is he the ghosty?
Yes, he's
like
the
the green with the orange.
Yep.
I like him.
Yes, and also Colonel Sanders, like Colonel Sanders,
like
11 or
finger looking
spices.
good.
Yeah.
I like how we had different references for the same thing.
But like, yeah.
That's funny. So.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question because I, again, until I see like the full context, I don't think I can answer this question. Our special edition superlative for this month is, should the prequel exist? So I'm going to get your opinion. I'm going to refrain, and I may come back to it after I've watched more movies.
So I know this one's divisive. But just hear me out on why it should exist. 1, because it rules. 2, it leads to Alien Covenant, which also rules. This duology is very cynical, very mean, and very, I don't know if nihilistic is the right word.
They're not hopeful.
And I would make the argument Prometheus is more hopeful than Alien Covenant.
Fucking awesome.
This movie should exist for the C-section scene alone. It is one of the nastiest scenes in ever.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Horrifying.
Not to put you on the spot, but so next week, I don't think there's going to be any pregnancy scares. Which scene freaked you out more? The first Omen scene or the Prometheus scene?
I think probably First Omen, but only because I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think like this scene is so visceral, which is crazy because like Jeremy, like you were there. That scene was fucked up. This scene is like, but because I knew like this is an alien movie, I knew to expect it. Like pretty much as soon as she had sex with him, I was like, I know you just said you're infertile, but I know what this movie is. So I think.
Yeah.
And so like, I think because I was expecting it, it was a little bit less for me. But this one, oh god, it's still like even expecting it was still like whoa.
Because it's very violent and very visceral
horrifying.
And intense.
Yeah.
And I think it might be one of the most intense scenes in the franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this prequel should exist because it rules.
That's fair.
That being said, I don't think, like, if people don't like it, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
That's fair. Yeah, I could see it going either way.
So, I like that question.
All right, Jeremy. Not Jeremy. Sorry, Jeremy.
Well, Jeremy, you could answer this question too.
Jeremy, would you die?
I would die in most of these movies.
It's fair. He's just a gentle boy.
I'm not equipped to survive the horror genre.
In your defense, most people are not. And ironically, what puts you in a better position than most people, or not most people, but some people, is you know that.
Yeah. And also, I'm a man.
So, Austin, would you die?
Well, Jeremy just put it. No, I would 100% absolutely die.
Why?
Because let's just say I don't get infected because David's a sneaky little boy and doesn't tap the Prometheus juice in my drink. And let's just say I don't get impregnated because I don't have sexual intercourse with with a infected by the Prometheus juice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say I don't meet up with the engineer and he doesn't decapitate me or like just yeet me across the room, breaking my back. And let's just say I don't run into the big starfish monster teeth alien who's like has all the teeth and it kind of looks like a vajayjay and he's like a starfish. And let's just say I don't sacrifice myself and flying with my co-pilots to take down the alien spaceship. And let's just say the alien spaceship is falling and rolling and I get crushed by it. Let's just say I survive all of that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when I see the little space cobra, I'm going to be like, hello, little guy, be my friend. And that's how I'm going out.
That's fair.
I would have the space cobra death, which kind of freaks me out because I've never broken a bone. And I don't want that feeling.
It feels like that would be a crazy way to break your first bone, man.
The alien cobra, the space cobra is just going.
Yeah. Ugh. Gross.
How about you? Would you die?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. As we've talked about, I am scared of pregnancy.
Yep.
So the moment that I realized that there was a foreign object in my body and it was trying to come out, I would simply kill myself.
Oh, shit.
I would walk out without my
hashtag demonetized.
I would, sorry. There would be no surgery happening. There would be no extraction. I'm sure that the alien would survive because those things survive anything, but that sounds like a you guys problem. I will not be putting myself through that.
Very fair.
And that's the end.
Very fair. So we did it.
We did it.
About 2 hours talking about Prometheus, and I feel like we could easily go another 2 hours.
We could. There's so much.
This is an insane movie.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening to this behemoth of an episode. I didn't think it was going to be that long going in, but we really needed to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thanks everyone for listening. I just want to make a little announcement. At the time of recording, this hasn't happened, but at the time of you people listening or hearing this past weekend, The Blood Witch just played at Days of the Dead Film Festival in HorrorCon in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I attended. I'm just assuming I had the best time. Friends were made. Blood Witches were watched. And I don't know the result of this, but The Blood Witch was actually nominated for Best Villain.
Yay!
At this film festival. So tune in next week. Or,
on our social medias.
Yeah, check out my Insta. I probably already posted if anything good happened, but I just think it's really cool.
That is so cool. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you.
I just found out the other day, so I'm like, this is the first opportunity I can bring it up on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Yay.
We'll see what happens. If you're listening, you might already know what happened.
Either way, being nominated is so cool. I'm so happy for you.
And for Best Villain.
Yeah. I mean, the Blood Witch is scary as fuck. She's a scary bitch.
And that's what we were going for. So I want to shout out Kaylee Michaels, who plays the Blood Witch. I want to shout out Ashley Richardson for her iconic makeup. Everyone on the Blood Witch cast and crew helped make this a really fun movie, but those two especially.
Yeah, they really brought her to life.
Yes, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Nice. So Austin, if people want to find out more about how good of a time that you had at this convention, where can they find out about it?
You can follow me at Austin M. Torres on the Instas and all the other socials. Really just Insta and Blue Sky is what I'm using right now. Really just Insta. But
And Letterboxd.
oh yeah, and Letterboxd. I use Letterboxd a ton. I just logged like 16 movies this past weekend. How about you? Where can the people find you? Should you want to be found?
They can find me at Whimsawillow on everything. I'm trying to use Letterboxd more. You can also find me on, I'm going to plug my Storygraph, which is just like Goodreads but better. So you can also follow me on Storygraph, same at. So, see what I'm reading.
I love it. You can find the show's social media at Would You Die Show, Instagram, Facebook, all the good stuff. Subscribe to us on YouTube. YouTube, we're doing a lot of fun stuff. You can listen to us on there. We're doing more live streams. Last week, we did a live stream with Jurassic Park with some of my homies who, if you're listening to this, you already know who they are, but I'm not going to say right now because there's a chance not everyone can make it. So, like, I'm being kind of careful. But in 2 weeks, I could mention it maybe. I don't know. But but that live stream probably went amazing. And yeah, join us on Patreon if you like this show and you want to support us. $3 a month, and we are working really hard to get more content for that. This summer it's going to be happening. This month it's happening.
Yep.
So $3 a month, and you're contributing to dreams.
Yeah. Anything that you contribute to that just goes back into making this podcast a better thing. It makes us be able to be more creative and make cooler shit. So.
Oh yeah.
It's good.
Oh yeah.
I would like to say thank you to Jeremy Lippitt, our amazing producer, to Josie Palmer, who wrote the music at the beginning and end of every episode, Alec Gibson of Crosshook Creative, who does all of our amazing visuals. Austin, you got a hint for next week?
Don't get it twisted. She's a star.
Yes, sir. So excited.
See you later, alligator.
After a while, Crocodile, are you going to say your name?
Well, I wanted to do another hint.
Okay.
I'm Austin Torres.
I'm Anneliese Peterswang.
This is the crew of the Prometheus signing off.
Try not to die.